Hey guys, this is Bruce, and welcome to ConvoCourses. And as promised, I'm doing this at about 9 o'clock at night. We're gonna knock this out. And what I wanted to show you is, well, first of all, before I start, if you're interested, I have a free book. It's only going to be free for the next 5 days, and let me show you that right quick. It's on Amazon, on KDP. So if you're interested, link is in description. I do this so that I can advertise the book because Amazon goes off of views. So I'm looking for a review from you. Here's what the book looks like. I've got two different versions. One's going to be this one right here that you're going to get off KDP for free for the next 5 days. And then the other one goes with the actual program I'm building, where I'm going to walk you through how to do governance, risk, and compliance using NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0. All right, let's continue where we left off. So we talked about GRC RoadMap, and the whole concept behind this is using the NIST Cybersecurity Framework to explain how governance, risk management, and compliance works, a practical understanding as well as a knowledge-based understanding of how all this stuff works. And I just figured the best way to show you what GRC is to explain NIST Cybersecurity Framework. And so that's kind of what we've been going through all of these different functions right here. These are all of the functions that you find in NIST CSF. And these are important because this is governance, risk, and compliance. This is really what it is right here. This middle ring right here is the govern function. That's like how the organization sets up the culture within the organization, within the company, the department, the unit, whatever, to use cybersecurity on a daily basis. When you're reviewing your emails, you're making sure you're not you're not susceptible to phishing attacks. When you go in and out of the facility, you have physical security in mind. So it's governance that makes that happen throughout the whole organization so that everybody's on the same page. So we already talked about this one last week, and we got into identify. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about this week. But there's a whole bunch of functions that you have not a whole bunch. There's only 6. These ones right here. There's govern, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And the reason why these are important and why this all works together is that these are basic security functions that every organization, no matter how big they are, no matter how small they are, if you have a company, if you have an organization, you should be doing some of these things. You know, a lot of times organizations start off, all they have is the govern function. They don't really have a lot of equipment, so they have to really do identify. They only have one system or whatever, but they have to protect. And then as they get bigger, they have to make sure that they're detecting security features, especially if they're dealing with sensitive information. So you kind of grow into all of these different rungs of a business, of an organization, of a nonprofit or whatever. All right, so let's get into identify. What kinds of things do you do to identify? What does that even mean? That's what we're going to talk about. And let me just set this up by telling you, this is kind of one of the hardest things an organization does, because I've noticed this is very challenging for most organizations. Most organizations I've been to, they have a problem with this one, because this is setting up a baseline. A baseline is where you're at right now. And the reason why I think this is hard is because you have equipment coming in and out, and especially the software is difficult. So if organizations don't have their stuff together as far as the baseline, that's where a lot of other security features can fall apart. And the reason why is because if you look at this little diagram here, and if you listen to me, if you're only listening, you can't see my screen, I'll explain it. You've got identify in the center and having a bidirectional flow from all the other functions, from govern, that's your information management, to protecting the systems, your assets, detecting things. All of that has to do with identify. Respond, if you want to respond to incidents. you have to be able to identify what's going on. Recovery, you have to know what's going on. You have to identify what systems need to be recovered. So everything kind of leads back and forth from identify. So if you don't have your stuff together with your baseline, if you don't know what systems you have in your environment, it's very difficult to do cybersecurity. That's what I've noticed. All the organizations and departments that I've gone through, most organizations have this is the most difficult one to manage. They usually have a nice, they have a culture in NASA and the Navy and private sector and different industries. They have a culture where they're doing cybersecurity, they're doing training, they're doing things like cyber threat intelligence and stuff like that. But when it comes to actually mapping what's in their environment, it's difficult. And I'll show you, and you'll see why as we go through this. All right, let's get to this. So what is identify? It's identifying the assets in your environment, asset management. It's also identifying the risk. It's not just the assets, but it's the actual risk that you have to identify on a regular basis, and then continually getting better and better. So let's start off with asset management. And this is going to break down your hardware inventory and software inventory, and then data inventory. And those are broken down in the NIST CSF by subcategories. So this is one of the subcategories. We're not going to go through every single one. I just want to give you an idea of what you deal with the NIST CSF. And after a few of these, you'll get it. So hardware inventory is one of the things you have to do. And you'll notice that this maps to PCI DSS. It maps to NIST 800. It maps to HIPAA. If you've ever been in any environment whatsoever, you've had situations where the organization had to figure out what hardware do we have, what systems are connected to our enterprise, what IPs are out there, and they use things to discover all the hardware that's out there. It might be RFID tags, it might be just doing a simple discovery with a network scan, and then they catalog those. They keep track of them on a regular, ongoing basis. That is hardware inventory. Then you get into something a little bit more difficult, which is software inventory. Software inventory is very, very difficult because you can have 10 different versions of one software. You could have 3 different versions of Node.js. You can have 5 different versions on your network of, I don't know, MS SQL, because they have different versions that a vendor will come out with. Some of them are end of life, and you could have 5 versions on one computer. And if you have 1,000 computers, you like multiply that times, 1,000. So this is very difficult, and you really have to do it with some sort of software, some kind of database that can keep track of this on a regular basis, continuously. So you've got to identify what's in your environment to keep track of end of life operating systems, end of life applications, what needs to be patched, what needs to be updated. And you can see very quickly why detect, protect, governance, all of those rely on identify, because if you don't know what's in your environment, it's very, very hard to keep track of this stuff. Then you've got, of course, your network mapping. This one is very clearly indicated in the NIST 800. NIST 853 controls actually point to this one. PCI DSS and many of the other CIS, V8, all of them make it mandatory for you to have some idea what your network looks like. And that's what this one's pointing to, is making sure that you are mapping your network and know what's on your network at all times. And I could see people join in. I could see people's comments and stuff. I'm going to get to it. And if you're joining late, I do have a free book. Link is in description. Link is in profile. Go ahead and check it out. I'm trying to get reviews. Give me an honest review. Get the book for free. And I'm going to be releasing a program that's going to break down and go through all the stuff I'm talking about, because I want you guys to know what I know. I want you guys to be able to reap the benefits of being a governance risk and compliance pro, because it's been very rewarding. All right, let's get back into this. And I'll only do a few of these. I'm not going to go through every single one. I just want to give you a very solid idea of what the identify function in the NIST CSF is all about. And we're talking about the NIST CSF 2.0, by the way, because they go through different iterations. They're updated every so often. Okay, so Supplier service inventory. So we're making sure in IDAM4 that we're identifying all third-party services and suppliers. This is very important to things like supply chain cybersecurity, because we've got to know what our vendors are doing, what's going on, what assets. We've got to track the assets and monitor those at all times. Moving on to IDAM5, asset prioritization. So, especially if you have a lot of assets, and assets meaning important systems, important software, major applications, important pieces that make your business and mission run properly. We've got to prioritize these because we might not care so much about our monitors or the mice or the all the spare parts that are going into your organization. You might not care as much about your printers. You might not care about peripheral devices so much, but your server, that's got to be locked away in a closet. You have to have a restricted area. You might have to have a restricted area where only certain people have access to that. So we've got to prioritize what assets and what data is most important, because that's where we're going to focus most of our resources to. Most of our time, money, and energy is going to be to protect those things. And prioritization is important because now it's going to help us to respond properly, because each component our response is going to be different based off of what systems have the highest priority, right? So prioritization, once again, identify function is in the center. It's the centerpiece of all of these other parts and pieces. I'm not saying it's the most important, but it's something that if you don't have it, everything else is a keystone of all this stuff. So it's very, very critical to have identify. Data inventory. This is the classification and identification of your information. So you might have to tag it, like in cloud technology, you might tag certain resources and certain data. I know that in the Department of Defense, they have different levels of security. You have a top secret network, and you have that can't mix with the secret data and can't mix with the unclassified data. So you might have different levels of information that have to be categorized and treated differently, and that might also affect the prioritization of that information. So asset lifecycle management. So this means that from birth to death, we're following the systems, the software, the data, everything. So in acquisitions, we're making sure that it's secure when we acquire it, when we buy it, when we purchase it, when we make a contract with some third-party organization, whatever we're doing, we have to make sure that that is secure. We're not buying it from our op. We're not buying it from an organization that's been hacked several times, or if they were breached, maybe they've taken care of it. Maybe they've explained that piece. But we've got to make sure that that vendor, that service that we're buying from is secure. And then maintenance, we have to make sure that once we've acquired it, we have regular maintenance. We have ongoing continuous monitoring of that system. And then when we decommission it, it's no longer, it's end of service, it's end of life. We have to make sure we have a process to gracefully shut that thing down without compromising our current mission or business. So that's asset life cycle. And I'll only cover a few more of these that are important, like risk assessment. Risk assessment breaks down identifying vulnerabilities, threats, and evaluating impacts. So the first one we're going to deal with is IDRA1, which is scanning, analysis, prioritization. This is huge. Vulnerability identification is huge. You can kind of see how we're coming back to having identify as the centerpiece, right? Everything kind of flows through this. If you don't identify what's in your environment, how can you prioritize it? If you don't prioritize it, how do you know how to respond to things? If you don't know if you don't do scanning and analysis, how will you know what's in your environment so you can respond, so you can manage these things? And I appreciate you guys. Thank you for that super sticker, SD. Appreciate that. Let me see what else is important here. Yeah, so back on IDRA1. So this is vulnerable. This is the heart of vulnerability management is the ID function, identify function. So another part of the ID function is IDRA2, or cyber threat intelligence. This is ensuring that we're ahead of the game. Like, we're making sure that if we have a brand, we're out there making sure that there's no malicious attackers trying to do typo squatting on our brand name. They're not buying up all of the domain names that look like our brand name, and then they do this with banks a lot, where they'll take the name of the bank and then they'll change like one letter in the bank.com and then try to get people to sign up, and then they'll make the site look exactly like that bank, your bank's webpage, and so they can collect your information. So cyber threat intelligence is designed to find things like that. You're gonna go online and analyze that stuff, and then you're gonna take action based off of your findings. Threat identification, that's kind of what we just talked about, but another piece of this is that you have internal threats and you have external threats. Internal threats is insider threats. It's like people from within the organization doing stuff they're not supposed to do to take out the organization for whatever reason. And then external threats is obviously, external attackers trying to do a harm to your business and adversely impacting the business. Impact assessment is also a part of the identify function. So with this, you're going to figure out if we do get attacked, if something does happen, if we do get hacked, what is the impact to our business essential functions? Can we still do what we're supposed to do? Let's say we had a payment system and our mission is to make sure that paychecks go out, and our mission, that means we have to make sure that the system's patched, the database is patched. If that system goes down, an impact assessment means, okay, what is the impact to the whole organization if this payment system goes down? So we have to identify what our actions are going to be. We have to prioritize what we're going to do, first, second, and third. And we might have a more important system that we take care of that piece of the system first. Maybe the database, we have to make sure that database is protected. Maybe it's okay if the checks are a couple days late, but if the database goes down, we lose everything. We got to start all over again. So impact assessment means sitting down and figuring out, okay, what are we going to do if we do lose our system? Risk response. This one's also very huge, because we've got to the organization has to identify what they're going to do if they can't just quickly fix the system, because that's most of our job, to be honest with you. This one right here is not talked about, but risk response is also known as, what's another name? Risk treatment is what they call it in ISO 27001. Same thing. It just means that what are you going to do if you can't patch a system? Like, not everything can be patched immediately, right? For whatever. Some of the reasons why you can't patch things is sometimes the vendor doesn't have a quick patch for it. They find there's a 0-day exploit and they don't have a patch for it. So you've got this thing out there. So what do you do? What is the organization's plan if they get a 0-day attack? So another reason why you might not be able to fix it very quickly or remediate it fast is that if you remediate it, it breaks several other things. It takes out your mission. Like, sometimes it's worse to remediate it than it is to actually get hacked. So you've got to take your time with that. So what does the organization do when this happens? This is most of my job. Most of my job is not fixing quick things like a patch. That is quick. That's something that can be done with a system. Like, you can push out a patch and then fix 1,000 systems, but there's always one or two systems for whatever reason that don't get patched immediately, or you can't patch it for. So now what do we do? There's several things that an organization can do, and they kind of list them here on the slide, but there's you could avoid the issue. That means, let's say we had a server that had a weakness, and we we could avoid it by taking the whole server out. Now there's no weakness because there's no server. Another thing you could do is transfer the risk. That means that it's kind of like insurance. Like, you could hire another organization to do a service where they take on the risk. This is kind of what you see with cloud, with shared responsibility, where they take care of the infrastructure. They're patching the systems. You're just worried about your operating system that sits in their cloud and your data that sits in their cloud. But they're doing all the physical security and patching on the virtual system that you're sitting on. So another one would be mitigate. Sometimes I'm guilty of this myself, but I mix up the terms mitigate and remediate, but they're two different things in cybersecurity. Because remediate in cybersecurity terms is to fix it. Like, you patched it, it's done, no more weakness. But mitigate is a little bit different. It just means that you didn't really patch it, but you found another way to reduce the risk. That sometimes that mitigation is even better than the actual patch. Like, it's just a different way to reduce the risk. Like, maybe you put a firewall in place. You couldn't patch the system, but you put an air gap. That means you removed it from the network, and it still has the patching issue, but it's not, you can't get to it from the internet, So there's other things you can do other than just to fix it. You can mitigate. And then there's accepting the risk. So accepting the risk doesn't mean that you're not doing anything. It means that you're acknowledging what's going on. And then maybe you have other compensating controls. There's other security things that you're putting in place, or that you're acknowledging that the organization knows that this is a problem, but we can't fix it right now. And we're going to have to figure out another way around this. And you're going to document it and do everything you can going forward. And so I think that's where we'll stop here, and I'll take some questions. We've got other things going on here. Identification is pretty important. You've got change management, vulnerability discovery, hardware, software authentication. There's some other things that are pretty big in Identify, but I think you get the picture now. That's what Identify is all about. So let me see if there's any questions on TikTok here.
I have a question. I know you're doing a live, but I have another question.
Okay.
This is the second time I crashed your stream, but I know you've been excited for like this. So like you hear like a lot of the prices going up for stuff.
Okay.
So, oh man, I know you've been waiting for like GTA 5. Everyone has been. They just released the price for GTA 5. Just guess what it is.
All right, this is really off topic. All right, guys, my daughter's asking me about GTA 5. So, all right, this one question, okay, and then you got to go.
Okay.
It's GTA 5. The price is something ridiculous. Let me see, $85.
$100.
$100.
$100.
I'm still gonna buy it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Remember when I told you about the Cybertruck?
No, not the Cybertruck. Don't embarrass me like that. Okay, let me finish this. Okay, guys. Thank you guys for jumping in. Thank you for the $5 SD. I appreciate that. I'm gonna go ahead and start some questions. I won't keep you guys too long. I know it's late. Rookie, hey, how you doing, man? He says, hi, Bruce. I just went ahead and bought the book. Should get it Monday. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support for all these years, man. I really appreciate it. You and Larry, man, have been funding this whole thing, and I use it to buy some beverages. So let's go ahead and dedicate this one to Rookie, SD, and Larry. Thank you guys so much. And by the way, I haven't announced it yet, but I'm gonna actually be doing like a thanks, Rookie, for that $10. I'm gonna be doing a legit group chat on a continuous basis, because that's one of the things we've been missing from the convo is the actual conversation throughout the weeks. So I'm setting up a platform where we can all talk. I didn't want to really use like Facebook groups, and I tried some of them. I just didn't like them. So I've got one coming real soon. I'm still building it on the back end. So It'll be tiered, so that'll be deeper ones. So people who want to go deeper, it'll be broken up into parts. So that's what I'm kind of doing in the back end. All right, let me see what else do we have here. Thanks SD for the 3 goats. Appreciate it. SD said, giving us knowledge on a Saturday night when you could be on a date and spending time with your lady is greatly appreciated. My lady is extremely supportive. And shout out to my wife and my kids who've been really supportive of me doing all this extra time. Appreciate everybody being supportive of me following my dreams. Kwame says, is tonight's subject on security assessment? No, but it can be. Any question that you guys have, I'm on here for a little bit. Tonight's subject has been the NIST CSF. I've been teaching little bits and pieces of the GRC RoadMap cybersecurity framework. I'm going to be releasing a whole course on that real soon. All right, so TikTok, I see you guys. I'm going to answer some questions starting from the top. Let me see. And Young says, let me pin your comment real quick. My GCIH soon. Taking my GCIH soon. What do you think should be next for context? For context, let me see the rest of your message here. I work in a SOC. Oh man, a GCIH is awesome. So that's their incident handling. And when I worked in a SOC for about a year, I really enjoyed it. It was one of the best times I had in cybersecurity. It was the highlights of my career. I learned so much. I got to meet some awesome people who changed my life. Like they don't know it, but they definitely changed my life. Like I just had a great time and I learned quite a bit. What would I take next? It depends on what you want to do with your career. If there's so many different things you can do from the SOC, from a cybersecurity analyst. You can go, if you want to go into forensics from there, because you're already doing some network forensics type stuff. You could go their forensics route, because I believe SANS has a forensics course, one of the best forensics courses out there. So you can go that route. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to go more of a manager type role, like if you want to be more, if you want to open up the doors to management, a CISSP, you can't go wrong with a CISSP. If you wanted to go that route, if you want to be more technical, one of the best ones on our team when I was in a SOC, there was a dude who had a GCIA. That was really impressive. I was mind blown. That one to this day haunts me, because the knowledge base on the GCIA was so impressive and so incredible. I was so blown away by it that I actually started studying for it, but I never went through with it. But so it just depends on what you want to do. GCIH is a very respectable, a very, very respectable certification. So you're on the right track. It depends on what you want to do. So the next question here is, if you guys didn't know, if you're joining me late, my name is Bruce. I've been doing cybersecurity GRC stuff since the year 2000. I know that dates me, but yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, doing different aspects of cybersecurity. And why do I do this? I do it to help people. I do it because I like to teach. I do it because I built a community over the years. I used to talk about cryptocurrency on this channel, which is crazy to me. Now suddenly people start asking me questions about cybersecurity, and I just start talking about it back to back. So yeah, now I've got a free book. If you're interested in learning more about GRC stuff, it's called GRC RoadMap NIST CSF, where I'm teaching you GRC using NIST cybersecurity framework. So that book is free for the next 5 days. So go ahead and check that out. It's if you want the link, it's in description and it's in my profile. Let me see here. So Marie Carmen says, okay, these comments are going crazy, so I apologize. Marie Carmen, where's that question? She says, or he says, they say, what do you recommend that gives a good understanding of ISO 27001 in particular for assessing? I believe there's an ISO 27000 that actually does assessing. There's an actual book, and I think it's ISO 27005, but I could be wrong. I know you've got ISO 27002, which goes through all the controls, and you would be assessing the controls. And then they've got one for risk assessments. And so I'm trying to find that one right now. And I'm off the top of my head, I believe it's called ISO 27005. As far as the certification, I don't know. I know ISACA has an ISO 27001 certification, but I don't know if that would lead you down the path that you want to go down. Let me see. ISO 27005, I think it's called. And I could be wrong. Let me show you guys my work here. Show my screen real quick. Here's what I'm looking at. ISO 27005 is an international guidance on managing information security risks, applicable to all organizations and support the implementation of security-based risk management approach. So maybe not. I'm not sure which one does assessments. I could have swore it was risk management framework, ISO 27005. It has risk assessment, risk treatment. This will shoot you in the right direction because it has risk identification, risk analysis, risk evaluation. So this one right here, I think will get you on the right track for ISO 27001 because assessment relies heavily on risk identification or risk analysis, all that kind of stuff. So you're getting into scanning, making sure that people have implemented the security controls effectively, things like that. So I hope that helps. Anybody, and actually there might be some folks on here who know better than I do. So you guys like who are watching this, would you guys recommend that Mari goes in the direction for ISO? They said, let me see what their specific question was. I hope that answers your question. I hope I'm on the right track. I'm not going senile here, which I do from time to time. He says, what do you recommend that gives a good understanding of ISO 27001 in particular for assessing? I would still stick with ISO 27005, but there might be some people on here who know better than me. So if you guys do, I will just chime in and let Mari know on TikTok what's up. Can we ask questions? Yes, of course. Somebody said you can. He streams multiple platforms. Yep. Any questions? I'll be on here for another 30 minutes or so, and then I'm gonna bounce. Thank you guys for those hearts. Thank you for the appreciation, the love, the questions. Appreciate all of it. Third-party risk management is also included in asset lifecycle management. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that. That's speaking to what I was talking about earlier. This is typo squatting. CTI is more than this. Absolutely more than that. CTI is about IOCs and leaks, account data. Yeah, so there's more to it. Like one of the things you'll do for CTI, what we did, and when I was at Verizon, was we had a tool that would scour the internet and scour the dark web for things like hacked accounts. Like you have people had stores online where they would have all these credentials and they'd be selling credentials to other hackers on the dark web. So we'd be looking for stuff like that. There's all kinds of things, more than just typo squatting. That was just one weak example that I gave. They do a lot of different stuff. Let me see here. 4 options: reduce, eliminate, share, and accept. Those are the options of ISO 27005 risk treatment. Let me see. So there's some people here know way, like there's some really sharp people here. That's one of the things I love about social media. Like I've been able to meet some really clever people on here who teach me stuff. That's why I named it ConvoCourses, because a lot of times I'll be teaching something and somebody will chime in and teach me something. I'm like, okay. Fortune says, how does one get into this with no experience? You're going to start off. I get this question every single time I go live. You're going to start off with the fundamentals. You know, I'm not going to sit here and BS you and tell you can go straight into this. It's rare. It does happen. I did have an interview with Chris from Tech Woke. If you want to check him out, real sharp dude. He has incredible videos, way cleaner than this. And he's on YouTube, Tech Woke Chris. And he got into this, bypassed all kinds of stuff, but he was real smart about it. So what he did was he became a security guard and then got a clearance. Now he's in Atlanta, I believe, Atlanta, Georgia. I think that's where he's at, but or no, East Coast. He might be in DMV area. I don't know. I don't remember, but he got a security. He worked as a security guard, got a security clearance, because if you work at a place that requires security clearance, they will get you one. They will apply for a security clearance for you. And then from there, he applied for a information system security officer job and got it. His background, now, okay, caveat, his background is he has a master's degree in IT and he had a security plus. Now, he didn't have no experience with IT. What I tell people is a more realistic approach is to learn. If you're coming in from scratch with no experience whatsoever, you're a teacher, you're a lawyer, you're something else. Not a lawyer. That's a bad example. You're a teacher, you're a sanitation engineer, you're in a whole different, you're a grunt in the military like I was. I always tell people start where you are. And that means, number one, you got to know IT fundamentals. Take your time, learn for free. Don't spend any money in the beginning. Go on YouTube, go on the internet, find free resources. You might not want to do this. And if that's the case, if you find yourself wanting to do something else, that's fine. But what you want to do is start for free. Learn as much as you can, basic IT fundamentals. When I say start where you are, if you happen to have a job, there's an IT department there. Try to make a lateral change. See if they'll give you a lateral change. You'd be surprised how many organizations need IT people right now, and you know their industry, so you can do a lateral change and start learning on the job. You never know. I mean, just ask. That's what I did. They told me it wasn't possible. I asked, and then lo and behold, they had jobs for me right there. Somebody said, can you send the link? The link is if you're in TikTok, the link is in my profile. It's going to be a Linktree page and it'll take you straight there. If you don't have a link for whatever reason, just go to Amazon, type in GRC RoadMap and you'll find it. And it's free for the next 5 days. So go ahead and try it. You can also sign up for my newsletter. I've got a bunch of freebies, not just this book, whole bunch of stuff that I try to help people out as much as I can. There's paid stuff that's a little bit deeper. If you want to like a deeper dive, you're really serious about this, you're trying to invest in yourself, you already know this is what you want to do. You already know the fundamentals. You already know, paid your dues. You already have a lab. You're into this. Then yeah, I've got stuff that's deeper for people like that. You're my audience, actually. Okay. Sika Educate says, I live in Canada. First of all, let me just, as an American, say I apologize on behalf of all of the United States of America. And you already know why. Anyway, it says, I live in Canada and wasn't able to get access to your free book. I wasn't allowed. It wouldn't allow me to download it. Oh, really? What the hell? That's weird. Thank you for all your insights and all you do. This is my first time here, but I've learned a lot. Email me and I might be able to hook you up. Just email me at it's contact@convocourses.com. If you happen to be watching this, I can send it to you. All I ask is a Canadian review on Amazon for that book. And anybody else, if you have problems, you can't get access to it, just email me at contact@ConvoCourses.com. And if you give me a review after you read through the book, what I'm looking for is your stars on Amazon. So, or if you don't want to go to Amazon for whatever reason, I understand. Go to on Barnes and Noble or wherever. Just give me some props on there, and then Rookie says, "Is there a way I can reach out to you for a GRC question? I work as a control consultant in a healthcare. Yeah, actually, this might be a good opportunity for me to start sending out invites to my chat group that I'm developing. So we can probably talk on there, or you can contact me at ConvoCourses. Actually, how about this? Contact me at ConvoCourses, contact at ConvoCourses.com. And then we'll talk. Here's my email right here. And then maybe I'll send you the link and we could talk a little bit more. I'll just invite a few people because I'm still testing it out and stuff. So that's why I'm not putting the link out there for people to join me at the moment. I got to fix some things. It's taking me a while. I got a full-time job. I can only do this stuff at night or in the mornings on the weekends and stuff. So that's life. Sal Hernandez says, what are your thoughts on the current GRC job market? It seems like companies are in hiring holding pattern and there's a lot of competition. Yes, Sal. I would say the industry I'm in is just really weird right now. It's 2025. There's just a lot of changes happening. I'm in the GovTech space. So as you know, they're making a lot of changes. That said, the contracting space is still we just hired a guy. So it's the contracting portion of it is affected, but not as much as the actual government workers. The government workers, they're ending remote work. They're firing 15% of the staff at random organization. It just doesn't even make any sense. They're saving. Oh, we saved $100 million. That's nothing to the government of the United States. That's nothing to them. So I don't really know like what they're doing. It doesn't make any sense. At some point, things got to normalize. Otherwise, I really don't know what's going to happen. But to answer your question, as a holding pattern, yeah, I mean, I can see that. I'm still getting job offers. I'm still seeing a steady flow of jobs. So I know that there's a need out there for people, but maybe there's more competition. I don't know. Like right now, there's just a lot of stuff going on all at once in my space. So what I'm seeing is a slowdown in the amount of opportunities that I normally see. But I've been seeing this over the course of probably the last couple years. It's kind of been a slowdown. And right now in the government sector, it's just really strange. And that said, there's still jobs, but it is probably more competitive right now. I don't know. Everything's happening right now. So maybe I can give you a clearer response towards the end of the year. But I would still go for it. There's still jobs out there. And that's one of the things I'll do on my group is I will show you guys the stuff I see. I'm going to pipe all of the opportunities that I get. I'm going to pipe them right into my group. So stay tuned for that. Professor Messer is good for free resources on basic IT concepts. Professor Messer, I hear a lot. If you want to learn more about AWS cyber and security stuff, that's Professor Black Ops is really good. on that stuff. He's actually a government. He's a worker like me who's a contractor for the federal government who in his spare time teaches. So he's also really good. There's a few other really, really, really good resources for whatever you want to learn. If you want to learn Python, there's some awesome resources for that people teach you for free, starting off for free. At some point, you're going to want to spend some money and invest in yourself. But in the beginning, if you're a beginner, just start off for free. Get out there, learn what you can, mess around with it. This might not be for you. Like, there's a lot of window shoppers, right? So I just tell them, just take your time with it. Do it for free. Maybe you want to do this for fun. It's not for everybody, to be honest with you. So just there's a ton of resources out there for basic IT concepts, basic cybersecurity concepts, AWS, if you want to go that route, Azure, a programmer, whatever you want to do, AI, there's so many. I myself use a lot of these different resources, and I'll go down a certain path for free and learn as much as I can. And then I start investing in myself. So it's kind of a continuous learning thing. So start off for free. Security expert says, well, the timing of this stream is is unexpected. Yeah. I thought I would try this. This is actually going pretty good. Let me see if I got any more questions on TikTok. Oh, not as many, because I was ignoring these guys. Sorry about that. Okay, let me see here. Let me speed read some of these things. Starting from the top, and third party. Okay, I already read that one. TTI, read that one. This is an awesome live. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Do we use plan of action and milestones for GRC, or is that for only DoD? That is a great question. So this was surprising to me. When I worked in the private sector for some time, they were using plan of action and milestones. I was blown away. They didn't call it plan of action and milestones. We called it action plan. So they have different names for it, but it's the same thing. It's a plan of action and milestones. It had the same things. It had the same features. Like, you would identify each one of them. You had a plan of action. You'd have a status every week or once a month or whatever. You track it. So they do have, that's one of the response treatments that you see out there. So, or risk response or risk treatments that you see in the Department of Defense. They call it plan of action milestone. They might call it something else, but it's a requirement. Excuse me. This is a requirement that you're gonna run into in large organization that have a lot of vulnerabilities that they have to respond to. So no, so that's not just in the DoD. It's actually out in the private sector as well. It's in the contracting sector. It's everywhere. They just call it different things. I'm a senior cybersecurity professional, over 15 years as a consultant, a CISO. Can I find a job in the United States? Can I find a job in the U.S.? Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of jobs here. It depends. There's a bunch of remote jobs. Now, I can tell you this. I know that there's a huge shift happening in the U.S., but there's a bunch of global U.S. companies, not just U.S. companies. There's global U.S., UK, Sydney, every country has these global companies that are always looking for cybersecurity professionals. So what I would do is I would look for those global companies. For U.S. jobs, you want to go to Indeed, Dice, Monster, LinkedIn. Those are our top ones. Every country has specific job aggregators that are best for them. India has its own top 10 job aggregators. UK, you name it. All of them have their own. So you want to go, whatever country it is, go to those top aggregators and find out companies. I know this because when I worked at Verizon, we had foreign nationals who worked in different countries. And we'd be on the same meetings together in different time zones. we needed them to facilitate certain deals outside the country. They're global countries that are not dependent on one nationality or one language. So they're looking for people all the time. You just got to know where to look. Right now, U.S. is in a weird ass position where I don't know what the hell they're doing, to be honest with you. I don't know how long this is going to last, but I don't see it lasting. But I would keep looking. Don't be discouraged. There's still some opportunities all over the world for what we do. Can you send the link? That's in my link is in bio, link is in description. Let me see. For assessment, you have an ISO 27001, the lead auditor version for the assessment. That's great. Yep. Actually, I think that's the one ISACA does. Is it? I think it is, but I'm not sure. Okay. Not many is applied to over 100 applicants to only 2 interviews. The rest are ghosted. Industry is crazy bad at the moment. True, I started my career at IT front desk and the rest is history. Free book, how can I get my hands on it? Free book, if you're watching this late, if you're jumping in late, free book is in, if you're on TikTok, it's in my profile. So go to the profile, the link is there. If you happen to be watching me on any other platform, link is in description. It might not be on Twitch. I couldn't get it on there. But anyway, so if you can't get to any of these platforms and watch me somewhere else within the 5-day period that is free, go to Amazon and then type in GRC RoadMap. You'll see the book. If you can't get it, like my man from Canada says he can't get it for whatever reason, he can't access it there, then what you want to do is message me. So right here, scrolling across the bottom, contact@ConvoCourses, email me. I'll send it to you. Just all I want you to do is, if you feel like you have it in you, or if have something positive to say about the book, go ahead and drop me a review of it. Hey Larry, how you doing, man? What's going on, everybody? Okay, let me see here. Appreciate everybody. Thank you guys so much for all the love, all the likes, all the support. That's why I do this. Is the CSF framework the same as the risk management framework? No, it's not. It's not the same thing. Let me show you. I can give you a brief understanding of the differences between these two things. NIST 800, both from the same organization, the NIST, but serve slightly different audiences, I should say. And let me show you that right here. NIST CSF. Here we go. And I want to look at the images here. Let me show you my screen to see if we can find some really good visuals so you can understand. So first of all, I really like this organization, Compliance Forge, did some really great graphics. I don't know who these guys are, but they do some really great work. They've got their own framework or something. Anyway, so the NIST 800 number 1 is ginormous. So it is so freaking robust and huge that it encompasses the NIST framework. NIST cybersecurity framework can fit within it. The differences of these two, NIST 853 and the NIST cybersecurity framework, is the NIST 800 risk management framework, which includes NIST 837, 30, 31, and all the other ones, 100, all of them. It is a suite of special publications that specifically made for the federal government, the U.S. federal government. It can be used in other governments. It can be used in other companies. I've seen it used in other organizations that were not the federal government because it's just so robust and it's so detailed. But it's made used mostly by state and federal organizations in the U.S. any kind of system that has, I can tell you this, any system that has federal information is supposed to have some variant of NIST 800 controls on it. NIST 800 Risk Management Framework. NIST CSF is for anyone. Anyone can use NIST CSF, and that's why I like it so much, is because it's very flexible. It can be used in a very small mom and pop. It's just not practical to use NIST 800 for a small business unless you have to. It's just not practical. It's just too much going on. It's too expensive to maintain. It's just too gigantic. There's too many controls. There's too much going on with it. The process to maintain it is just ridiculous. I mean, it just takes a lot, months, literally, to get an ATO. I do it every day. Like, that's my whole job, is the NIST CSF Risk Management Framework. And it takes us like upwards of a year to get through compliance on this. I mean, because it's for gigantic systems that have hundreds of controls. So we might take, on a new system, I mean, you could take like 8 months to get an ATO, an authority to operate, because the process looks like this. Let me show you the main difference between these two. So let's look at NIST 800 Risk Management Framework to give you an idea of what it looks like. Now, there's NIST 171, which is a little bit different. We're not talking about that one. We're talking about, what we're talking about is NIST 837. It looks like this. This right here is one visual that can explain the entire process to you. It follows this. To get a system compliant, to get a system approved, you've got to go through this entire life cycle. When you have a new system, you're going to categorize the system to different levels of impact. You're going to select the security controls based off of whatever level it is, low to high. And then you're going to implement all the controls, and then you're going to assess those controls, and then you're going to authorize the system by having a third-party assessment. Then you're going to, or actually assessment is the third party, and then somebody has to approve it, and then it's continuously monitored. So you go through all of these steps, and then prepares in the middle. You go through all of these steps, and that's your risk management framework. And it has 1,000 controls. If you include all of the security enhancements, that it's 1,000 controls. So it's crazy. It's really crazy. It's a lot of stuff going on. It depends on how important the data is for the system. That takes it so long to get the stuff approved. But now let me show you how the NIST CSF works, and you'll see the difference. NIST CSF doesn't focus on a cycle. It's not cyclical. It's more about what you have in what a organization is supposed to do to protect their system. So it's not like a cycle you go through necessarily. You can put cycles, you can have that, but the main thing is they have a really good diagram that breaks this down. Is this it? No, that's the old one. Okay, it's the old. Okay, here it is. You'll notice it's not, even though they have a ring here, it's not cyclical. It's they're just putting this here this is just showing all the different functions of an organization. So, I'll give you an example. A typical organization has to have governance. That means information management. For the simplest way I can put it is information management, but it's more to it than that. It's management of the culture of the organization, having cybersecurity, all that kind of stuff. But it's the head of the agency, the head of the department, the leadership in the organization, supporting security and funding the security. And then you've got identifying what's in your organization, all the weaknesses, all the assets, the software, hardware, all that stuff, cyber threats, all that. Identify everything. Protect. You're not really doing this in a cycle. These are all the things you have to do as an organization to protect all your systems, to detect anything that's going on, to respond to something that happens in your organization, to recover in some level, way, shape, or form. Right from the beginning, you're going to build out all these things for your organization. So these are functions every organization should have. You know, whether they have it, they're doing it well or not, kind of goes into different aspects of NIST cybersecurity, NIST cybersecurity frameworks. It's called implementation tiers. So that's the levels of how much you put in there and how well you're doing it. But yeah, so there's big differences. The biggest difference is they're different audiences. One is for the federal government. One is really for everyone. One is E for everyone. All right. How you doing? Hey, got somebody on LinkedIn following me. Let me see here. Any more questions on TikTok? No more questions. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. I've come to the conclusion that formal education is the best route. Yeah, I know that there's huge pushback against formal education in this field and in engineering. And I get it. It's expensive. It just seemed like a scam sometimes because it's very, very expensive. What's happening is the cost of living is just getting ridiculous, and healthcare and education are two things that have completely gone to Mars as far as price. It just keeps growing, and I don't know where it's going to stop. So I understand why people are very upset with formal education. I get it, but it's still right now, it's the most competitive edge you can get is a formal education. If you can afford it. You don't have to, though. The thing is, you don't have to. My mentors, brilliant, did not have degrees, didn't have certifications or degrees, but they knew absolutely everything about the systems that we had, and they now have degrees and certifications because they're competitive. And if you want to compete with 100 different applicants, that's the way to do it. So if you have to, get in, if you don't have the resources to do a degree, then I would recommend doing a certification and doing a bunch of labs and stuff. Getting experience is the most important thing you can get. But a formal education is just going to make you competitive on a whole nother level. So I would recommend it. If you have the opportunity to do it, do it. So I think that's it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I've been talking for an hour, unbelievably, at 9:00 at night. It's almost 10. So I did not see that coming. Thank you guys so much. Took me, okay, let me read a couple more last questions here. Took me 13 years to complete my degree part-time, and I previously had 5 certs. Yeah, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. I agree with you. The degree ended up being worth it. Yeah. It's just competitive. Like, especially if you want to grow in this field, if you want to become a manager, if you want to become a director, you want to make power moves, at some point, you're going to want to do it. All right. And that, I think, is it. I think that's it. I think that's the timer telling me to stop. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Cheers. And like I said, check out that free book, link in description, link in bio. It's free for the next 5 days. I'm expecting some awesome reviews, but you don't have to. I mean, I'm not watching you or anything. Somebody said, can I get a remote job to raise some money and acquire some certificates? Remote jobs are getting much harder to come by these days. Would cyber officer National Guard part-time route be a good alongside a job? Any way that you can get your foot in the door, a cyber officer in the National Guard might be a great choice for you, because if you're in the National Guard, that would allow you to get tuition assistance, I believe, and then you can get a degree, and then you could get a certification. It would be a lot of hard work, but in the end, you'd be ridiculously competitive. So not a bad move. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching on TikTok, on YouTube. I did not expect this many people to watch me at night at 10 o'clock on a Saturday, but go figure. Never know unless you try. I know you've answered this question 100 times, but what do you think of the Google certification? Why do people keep asking me that? Are they giving people money for that? That's an honest question, MacD. Why do people keep asking me that question? Is it because it's free and you're thinking about taking it? Just take it. Just take it. I wouldn't say it's the most marketable certification. I only heard about it because TikTok. Thanks, Bruce. Got your email. Yep. And I'll keep working on it if I find something else out. But that is, you're looking good. I would definitely. I have some questions for you, so just check out that email. Okay, guys, on TikTok and YouTube. Appreciate you.